Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Jeffrey Daugherty, the Gospel Truth, Jeff Daugherty Show. Glad to have you here. And I got home from the great Ghost Walk adventure over in Fort Lauderdale and also in Vero Beach. So if you missed any of those videos from the Ghost Walk over in Vero Beach, from the Ghost Walk over in Fort Lauderdale, and you want to check those out because they were really cool. They were powerful. They were exciting. They were enlightening. They were even illuminating, though they needed to be illuminated better. So as soon as I finish this quick show, I'm going to order some handheld lights so we can bring light. I can exercise my godlike abilities and say, let there be light, and there will be light. You notice the Rex Bear Leak Project hat. Much thanks to Rex. And the great guy's name in England that makes them, that I forget his name. I'm so sorry. But got the hat and wanted to say thank you for it and let you know that tomorrow I'll be on the Leak Project with Rex Bear. Good morning. Sandra D'Angelo will be joining us to talk about the ghost walks. Who are ghosts? What are ghosts? Where are they from? What are they here for? Why do they talk to us? Can we help them, or can they help us? And maybe for protection's sake, I should wear my EMF protective Leak Project super shiny hat next time I do ghost walking. We'll see. Should be interesting. Should be powerful. Going to have a long day of broadcasting today, a long day of broadcast excellence. We didn't get to do a whole lot on the trip, but at 11, 12, 1, 2 o'clock my time, Halo Marquise, The Alchemist, we're going to talk about alchemy. Tonight at 9 p.m. my time, we'll have Michelle Thompson. And then tomorrow, of course, Rex Bear Leak Project with Sandra D'Angelo. And we will be going from there and speak of the devil and his imps will appear. There's Michelle Thompson in the chat room. I wanted to talk to you today about something interesting. This just jumped up into my consciousness because it's weird as I sit back sometimes and look over my life. And I've had these very strange brushes. I want to say brushes with greatness, but at least brushes with celebrity. And I want to talk to you a little bit today about Jim Caviezel, who, of course, first played Jesus in the movie The Passion of the Christ, and now will be playing Luke in a movie about Paul. So Jim Caviezel, first Jesus, now Paul. So let's talk a little bit about Jimmy Caviezel. Again, just weird brushes. I have had the opportunity to talk with Jim on a few occasions. I talked with him on the telephone. I was great friends with his brother, and I still consider Timmy Caviezel to be a great friend of mine, even though it's one of those things where you don't see each other enough. But Timmy and I lived together. We didn't live together, but we lived in the same city. On the Nevada side of Lake Tahoe when we both were working up there for several years. And Timmy, he's a guy that's impossible to not love. Well, almost impossible to not love because our other good friend David Pillow didn't love him. But anyway, it's a long story. But Timmy, great guy. And we would talk a lot about spiritual things. And I was still pretty Jesused up at that time. And, several times I found myself on the phone with Jim Caviezel talking about whatever various subject that Timmy wanted me to talk to him about. We're sitting there talking about something. All of a sudden he hands me the phone and Jim's there. And Timmy, 6'8", 55 pounds, not that thin, but really, really thin, really tall, literally 6'8", funny as he can be. I mean, if you think I'm funny, he's even funnier. Just a great guy. Saint of a guy, very good salesperson, happy-go-lucky, honest, integrity, good guy. And very, very Catholic, even though Timmy and I were engaged in many activities that would definitely have driven him to the confessional. But anyway, I think it's interesting to talk about this. And I think it's interesting to talk a little bit about the people that are involved. And Jim Caviezel, if you don't know who Jim is, this is a picture of Jim without his Jesus garb on. Jim has been in The Thin Red Line, The Passion of the Christ, Angel Eyes, Count of Monte Cristo, Bobby Jones, Stroke of Genius, Deja Vu, Frequency. You probably know him from the TV show Person of Interest. What was the other great movie he was in that I really liked? Anyway, Jimmy's great. Fantastic actor. And as happy and gregarious and outgoing as Timmy is, you get on the phone with Jimmy. And I'd say, hey, Jimmy, how you doing? And I could hear his wheels turning, thinking, how am I doing? How am I feeling? How's things going? How's my blood pressure? Very, very deep thinking guy. You almost think he's a little bit off, but he's not, obviously. He's brilliant. He's just a very deep thinker and so much different than Timmy. And their dad was a chiropractor. Their dad played on the classic, the UCLA basketball teams that were a dynasty. And both Jimmy and Timmy played ball. Timmy, believe it or not, a 6'8" point guard at the University of Washington. Just hilarious. And he was in the Kevin Costner, Wyatt Earp. Just a great actor. Really good guy. He was supposed to be Cyclops in X-Men, but he dropped out of that because he wanted to do Frequency. And Frequency was just a great movie, the one with Dennis Quaid, where they were talking across time with a shortwave radio. But Jimmy, deeply, deeply committed Catholic dude. I mean, deeply, deeply committed Catholic dude. Great friends with Mel Gibson. Also, deeply, deeply committed Catholic dude. Doesn't mean they're perfect. Doesn't mean they know everything. Doesn't mean that they're always going to do the right thing. You know, Mel's had his issues. But Jimmy, Mel, Timmy, very, very, very dedicated family. And just a great family. You're prototypical. You know, you want your family to be like them. Love each other, close to each other. And frankly, they're the kind of people that give me problems because Catholicism works for them. You know, what they know of it and how they apply it, it works for them. So are there some good people within the Catholic Church? Yes, there are. However, you know what I believe about the Catholic Church. But Jimmy, very devoted. I think Jimmy's he believes in what he's doing. I don't believe he's out there trying to deceive people. He took it very, very seriously. I mean, he did the Passion of the Christ for no money, just a cut of the profits. And of course, probably made multiple tens of millions off of it. You know, he got a little piece of the gross of the film and the thing just blew up, obviously. So, you know, that's what happens sometimes. You take a chance on faith, even if your faith isn't perfect. And sometimes you get really rewarded. So anyway, that's who Jim Caviezel is. And I say all that to frame the comments that I'm making about him playing Jesus and now playing in the movie about the Apostle Paul. So you know what I think about Jim Caviezel. You know what I think about Timmy. You know what I think about their family. So in no way am I trying to cast any aspersions on just frankly a great family, the kind of family you'd all want to be like. And if you had to have just one or two friends you'd want and the Caviezel boys to be among that, let me just say that going forward. So anyway, let's talk about Jim Caviezel playing Jesus. And let's talk about Jim Caviezel now playing Luke in the movie about the Apostle Paul. I don't know what it's called, but anyway, and it's not out yet, and I will review it when it comes out. But when he played Jesus, I mean, it was something that literally changed the lives of millions of people. It was probably the most accurate and certainly the most graphic portrayal of Jesus, if you know, accurate to what we now have as the New Testament, which I think is woefully inaccurate. So it was the most accurate of the inaccurate sources. And it was a very powerful film. It was a very, very interesting film. Not in English. I don't know if you saw it. You should probably watch it, although it's hard to stomach. But it really galvanized Christianity. I think it galvanized Catholicism. I think it galvanized Roman Protestantism. And it really did. FB Dylan Duale, thank you for sharing your truth. And let's have no more of that. This isn't a preaching session. You're not on a street corner. You're not in a pulpit. So knock it off, or you will be politely put in timeout. So anyway, Caviezel plays Jesus, galvanizes Christianity. Now Caviezel's set to play Luke in a movie about Paul. So let's think about this. Let's think about how the New Testament was jumbled. The New Testament was jumbled to present an idea that here's just some nice stories about Jesus. Here's who Jesus is. Okay, Dylan, I tried to be nice to you. I tried to be polite. Go sit at the kiddie table because you obviously can't act like an adult. And I completely lost my train of thought. But anyway, where the hell was I? So we're talking about playing the Christ, consolidating Christianity, Bible all jumbled up. Here's nice little stories about Jesus. Here comes Paul with the real doctrine. And we're going to let John finish up with a little prophecy. If you sit back and look objectively, here comes Jimmy Caviezel. Great guy. Can't find anything wrong with Jimmy Caviezel. I mean, you could put Jimmy Caviezel under NSA, CIA, and FBI scrutiny, and he'd come up squeaky clean. Nothing wrong with Jimmy Caviezel, period. Clean guy, salt of the earth dude. So how do you find anything wrong with Jimmy Caviezel? So you got Jimmy Caviezel coming in and doing the Passion of the Christ. And now you've got Jimmy Caviezel doing a movie about Paul. Now he's Luke in the movie, but can you see the same setup going on? Let's talk about Jesus. Let's support the fake New Testament narrative. Let's talk about some nice little stories about Jesus, and let's use Jim Caviezel, squeaky clean. Now let's get to the real meat and potatoes. Let's talk about the real doctrine, the doctrine of Paul. And again, let's use Jimmy Caviezel to do it. And interestingly enough, you need to know a little bit about Luke before you can understand this whole thing. Who was Luke? Luke was not one of the 12 disciples. That surprises some of you. Luke was not one of the 12 apostles. Luke was an evangelist, and more correctly, Luke was an exorcist. Some of you are starting to tie it together. If you remember that passage in the Bible where Jesus sent out 70 evangelists, Luke was one of them. And remember, they came back and they're like, Lord, we are super stoked because we even cast out demons in your name and they had to obey us. And then the Christ, and we had a little Christ appearance there, said, hey, listen, don't rejoice that you've got power over demons. Rejoice that you have access to the kingdom of heaven. And of course, he said, that he had saw Satan fall from, and which is really the Lord, fall from heaven like lightning. So very interesting to give you a context on who Luke is. And even more interesting is that Paul couldn't write. Well, he could write, but if he wrote, it'd have to be about this big because he couldn't see. So all of Paul's writings, almost all of them, up until the very last ones, Luke was doing the writing for Paul. Luke was doing the writing for Paul. And I believe, if you've read my book, Apostle Paul Antichrist, that Luke became disgusted with Paul when he killed James the apostle. And from that time on, Luke began to act as a double agent. He stayed within Paul's camp. He took dictations from Paul and continued to write Paul's books, but he then started to slip in some secret, hidden, coded messages that would get past the Roman censors and go out into posterity so that people like us today, people with eyes to see, people with ears to hear, as Matt Malp is saying, would pick it up, would see it, would understand it. So, arguably, Jimmy Caviezel is now portraying two of the three most, what's the right word? Two of the three most influential figures of the New Testament. He's portrayed Jesus, and now he's portraying Luke, who really gave us all the words of Paul, who, of course, would be the second most influential person in the New Testament. And if we're going to be really frank with each other, Paul's much more influential in the New Testament than Jesus. And then I would throw in the Apostle John. So here's Jim Caviezel. Everybody, you can't not love Jim Caviezel. So let's put Jim Caviezel in as the Christ, as Jesus. And even though he's Jesus, we're going to call him the Christ. And interesting enough, the reason that movie was named that is because what they wanted to name it had already been taken. So they had to put in the Christ. They couldn't use Jesus. But at any rate, we're gonna use a guy that is impossible to dislike in Jimmy Caviezel, and we're going to identify Jesus with the twisted message that it's the Christ in a package that is undeniably appealing. I love Jimmy Caviezel. I love the Caviezel family. It's impossible not to have good feelings when you see those guys. People have such integrity and devotion. So let's use this great guy, and I think they are using him. Let's use him, the Catholic. He's met the Pope. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Pope calls Jimmy Caviezel. It's that sort of a situation. Jimmy's, and this is a weird statement. Jimmy Caviezel's almost the Tom Cruise of Catholicism. Almost the Tom Cruise of Catholicism. He's that devoted, and he's like the public face, certainly the celebrity face. And there's so much goodwill tied in with him that to use him to be the face of Jesus and to give it that twist of the Christ is brilliant. Brilliant. And now let's use all of that positivity around Jim Caviezel, and let's use him to paint a positive image of the dude that gave us all of the writings, for the most part, of Paul. As you sit back objectively, you can see a plan being filled out. Just like the fake New Testament, they're creating a New Testament in living people, specifically Jimmy Caviezel at this point, being, and I don't mean this any disrespect, being the dancing bear of Roman Christianity. And it makes the message much more appealing when you've got it when the messenger is much more appealing. I've had people say to me, you know, if you weren't such a jerk, you might have more than 13,000 subscribers right now. And you know what? They're probably right. Maybe I should stop being so much of a jerk. Don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath. But at any rate, as you watch this unfold, as you watch the Passion of the Christ, as you watch Paul the Apostle, and as you watch all of this coalescing and coming together and being rolled out, it's nothing if not a well-organized, brilliantly orchestrated, and almost flawlessly carried out media campaign. And what are you seeing from the Catholic Church now? You're seeing poor Pope, he got hit by fake news. That is to breed sympathy for the Pope. The Pope got hit by fake news. That's not fair. Let's have some sympathy for the Pope. And of course, if you have sympathy for the Pope, you have sympathy for Catholicism. Every time you turn around, you're hearing another story about exorcism. There's more demons than ever. There's not enough exorcists. We need more exorcists. And oh, by the way, Luke, being played by Jim Caviezel, mouthpiece of Paul, was an exorcist. It's brilliant. It's organized. It's well orchestrated. So we need to know, we need to see, we need to understand what's going on. And to me, folks, and if you didn't watch yesterday's Not Your Normal Sunday Morning Show with Wayne Steiger, special guest star appearance by Sandra D'Angelo, if you didn't watch that, you need to stop what you're doing right after this program and go watch that, because it was powerful. If you like this Not Your Normal Sunday Show, that might have been the best one that we've ever done. So go watch that here on this channel. It was very, very powerful. So there you have it. Just a heads up, just a kind of a behind the curtain look at what's really going on. I'm not saying don't watch Jim Caviezel movies. I'm saying know what you're doing when you do. Go subscribe to Sandra D'Angelo's channel. Subscribe to R. Wayne Steiger's channel. Subscribe to Leak Project, Rex Bear. Subscribe to Heidi Vandenberg, JennyMoonstone.com. Visit that. Halo Marquise's channel. He'll be on later today. Dan from Overwatch channel. And Trisha G. I know I forget people, but you know what I'm talking about. This is the first Jesuit Pope. And you know what? Let's just run real quickly through the chat room. You've listened to me yak for 23 minutes and 26, 27, 28 seconds. Let me see if there's any good questions in here. Thank you, Shane. I appreciate it. Michelle Thompson has met Jimmy Caviezel. Timmy's 6'8". Jimmy's probably 6'4", I think. Hello to you in Beirut. The letter J did not exist when Jerusalem did not exist. What was Jerusalem called? It was with a Y, Jerusalem. It's not about the actors. Thank you, Shane. You're right. Yeah, I do love the hat as well. Delaney Jackson thinks this is some good stuff. She says it's mind coitus, stealing a quote from Wayne. They have to do something. Their message is failing. Big time movies and awesome Jim Caviezel. Very well stated, Paul Hall. They do have to do something. The ship is going down. The Catholic ship is going down. Big movies and a great guy like Jim Caviezel. Sandra D'Angelo. The Pope. This is the first Jesuit Pope. You're welcome, Mark, for covering this. I was hoping there was some real revelation coming in the new movies. There might be, Dean. There might be, because, you know, they like to drop Easter eggs in this stuff. Christopher says it was a great Sunday show yesterday. Watched a couple of Sandra's videos and subscribed. Do yourself a favor. Watch the channel. She's got some good stuff going on there. And it's not just, repeat of everything I'm doing, Wayne's doing, Rex doing. It's a unique niche or niche, depending upon how cool you are. Very good niche, and it's something that helps. Jim Caviezel, says Sarah Kay, makes her heart melt because he's so handsome. Jimmy is a handsome guy. So is Timmy. But Sarah nicely says, not as handsome as me. Well, I'd trade bank accounts with Jimmy any day. And let me just say again, as I close this, the Caviezel family is as wonderful a family as you would ever want to meet. The best way to contact me if you have questions is christianwhistleblower@gmail.com. All right, Valaine, I'll do that. Are Jim Caviezel's motives pure? Yes. Oh, Gary Baxter, brother, that's awesome. Jeff is the true person of interest. Has Jeff really talked to Jim Caviezel? Is Jeff lying about Jim Caviezel? No. Does Jim Caviezel believe in his heart what he's doing is right? Yes, as it bangs into each other. All right, there you go. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attendance. We got a lot of broadcast excellence coming your way today. Yeah, it was, believe it or not, Dean brings this up and we'll talk about it. And I've talked with Jim about this. Dude got struck by lightning when he was hanging on the cross in the filming of the movie. Dislocated his shoulder. He had actually, interesting story, when he was doing G.I. Jane with Demi Moore. Not Demi Moore. Was it Demi Moore? It was Demi Moore. He was doing G.I. Jane with Demi Moore, and there's a scene in there where they come by in a Zodiac boat, and he grabs her out of the water, and he hurted his shoulder and dislocated it initially there in that movie. And then when he's up there hanging on the cross, I mean, you're on a freaking cross, and it's not comfortable by any means. He had his shoulder pop out again. So dude got struck by lightning. Dude got his shoulder dislocated. And when they were doing the whipping scenes, and I've talked to him about this, and man, talk about dedication. When they're doing those scenes of Jesus being whipped, boom, boom. They had like this covering on Jimmy's back, but every now and then they wouldn't get it right, and they're using a real whip, man. And sometimes it would miss that thing, and he would get cut to hell by this whip. It would catch him a little bit. And wow. I mean, this guy was dedicated, is dedicated to his craft, is dedicated to his faith. He's very sincere. And I would say, albeit sincerely wrong. And Matt, if you're not convinced by the rods, you have every right to be wrong, and it is what it is. But the first time they're wrong, I'll let you know. Ask the rods if Earth is a ball shape. We've done it so many times, James Doherty, and I had a shortwave engineer the day before yesterday, or was it yesterday? Day before yesterday, explain to me why shortwave radio proves that the Earth is round. But anyway. The motive of the film. I think the motive of the film is probably dark, in my opinion. Is the motive of the film the Apostle Paul, one of indoctrination? Yes. Is the real motive of the film to make some money? Nobody makes a big movie unless you're trying to make some money. But it is part of it. Is this new Paul movie part of an indoctrination system? Yes. Come on, Ron. A little stuck. So there you go. That is the motivation of the film. For that reason, I probably won't go see it in the theater. That and I don't think I could sit that long through that much dung. It would bother me. But I will see it when it comes out on video, probably. But I might have to go see it to do a review on it, because I guess it's part of my job. Yeah, James, but the signals go around the earth. But anyway, we're not going to talk about that today. This isn't a flat earth show, but I appreciate flat earth people because they are at least researchers. Just don't get Catholic on me and get all evangelical and zealous, because anytime you say, if you don't believe my truth, then you don't know any truth. Ooh, been there, done that. That's why I got out of it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for tuning in. I think this is interesting. I think this will help you to be more equipped to understand what's going on in this world. And it encourages me, because they're afraid of us, because they know that we know. They know the gig is up. They know the game is up. And I'm going to talk today more about what they know and why they're so scared. Oh, Jimmy was amazing in The Count of Monte Cristo. What a great movie. Frequency, what a great movie. Anyway, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. Nice to see you here. I'll be back many more times today. You'll probably get tired of hearing from me. But again, visit all of our friends, subscribe to all their channels, subscribe to this channel, put a like on this video, drive it up the organic ranking so people that aren't looking for it would see it. So looking forward to seeing you soon. And until then, guide your own spirit, master your own ascension, be your own guru, ask questions, and question answers. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. You are the Gospel Truth Army, and we'll look forward to seeing you again real soon.